You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the September 11th, 2024 meeting of the Michigan City Commission on the Social Status of African American Males. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Welcome to the meeting of the social status of African American males. Can we all stand for the pledge? And then after that, can we have a moment of silence for those who lost their life and gave their life for 9/11? Thank you. Mr. Pollock.
For allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Penny Klein Senior,
present.
Rodney McCormick,
Present.
Stacy Bennett,
Present.
Pasadena Carroll,
Present.
Tommy Blunt,
Present.
Helen Tillman,
Present.
Dwayne Hurt, Pastor Dwayne Hurt,
Present.
Pastor Robert Johnson,
Present.
Mike Jones,
Present.
Willie Millsap,
Present.
Walker, Casey McCormick,
Present.
Nick Pollock,
Present.
Joseph Nelson. We have a forum.
Call this meeting to order. At this time, I'm going to give the floor up to Commissioner Hurt to introduce our guest speaker and give him all the ample time that he needs to speak and put his presentation on. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dwayne Hurt, one of the commissioners. We would like to say hello to Mr. Dr. Rodney McCullum, who is the superintendent of the Michigan City High School. And we're going to bring him forward that he might present to us what he has in store for the Michigan City area schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Hurt, and also introduce me as my brother, Rodney. Not Rodney McCormick, but Rodney McCollum, who is my brother. So anytime Rodney calls, I'm looking like, oh, is my brother Rodney or Rodney McCormick? So
Yeah.
no issues at all. Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm very excited and thrilled to be able to speak to you today about the Michigan City area schools. The role that I play as the chief education officer or superintendent of the school system, and just my overall passion for supporting our students in Michigan City, particular students that look like many of us that are in this room today, and particularly a person like me. And the reason why I'm in Michigan City supporting the school system and all of our students. So with that, I've created a few slides that I want to speak to and bring to life today, starting first with a question that was asked of me today. I just was speaking to some of our students over at the high school, and the first question someone asked me was, what are you doing this year? What is your focus? What is your passion? And for us as a district, we had the opportunity a couple of years ago to partner with a consultant firm, Education Elements. And like many civil governments or school systems, in order to decide or determine what your focus is, you need to put together a strategic plan. And we worked with Education Elements to do just that. Spent several months putting together information through town halls, surveys, focus groups with all of our constituents. So students, staff members, parents, community members who don't have students within the district, business partners, university partners, to see what it is they want the Michigan City area schools to look like. So that work started in January of 2023. And from there, we were able to build out several initiatives, pillars that we call them for our district, on what we think should happen over the next 4 to 5 years in Michigan City. So the plan or the implementation of the plan began in 2023, and the plan will go through 2027. And as we implement new strategies, think about new ways in which we engage the community, all of our constituents, we provide quarterly updates to our board. Often we speak at our regular board meetings or just in community meetings or through our social media about what we're doing with regards to the strategic plan. The first thing, if you want to go to the next slide, Drew, that I want to hit on with this group, which I find most important, not only as a parent, but as Pastor Hurt highlighted, I was the principal of the Michigan City High School for 3 years. Before that, I was the assistant principal at both Krieger and Elston Middle School. And all the time that I would get in front of parents or any group and speak about how can you get involved, how can you support your student, this was the number one thing that I saw for kids who were successful and for the kids who weren't successful, is how are people at home engaging with the school or engaging you as a student about what's going on in the school. So communication with teachers. Generally, you would think that would be something that's simple, especially starting off at the elementary level, where as a parent, most cherished possession or person in your life is your student. We see it all the time. First day of school, we have a lot of parent participation. We have a lot of parents at the open houses and parent-teacher nights. And then as students get older, and I can speak to my own experience with this as well, you sort of gradually release your communication with the teachers because now you're expecting for your students to be able to provide that information for you. And I'm here to tell you that whether you're a parent, a guardian, a family member, or a friend, as you get older and you start asking your students, and you probably have heard or seen this, how did your day go? What happened? Blah, 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 blah. The students say less and less back to you. That's why it's important as a parent to engage with what we have. For us, there's always online communication. We have a student information system called PowerSchool. So for our parents that are out there, if you aren't getting that information or communication with your student, or you're working and you don't have the time to do it, you can always email the teacher, or you can just simply look and see how your student is performing in the classroom. Our teachers are expected to update their grades on a weekly basis. And a lot of times we have teachers who are sending information to you as a parent in between those weekly upgrades to the student's grade report so that you are informed as a parent. And our elementary schools do it a lot more frequently, weekly, sending home using a system we have called Class Dojo. So you can see daily or have that communication daily with what your child is doing in the student or in the classroom. And I know that as a associate superintendent, which I was for 8 years, now the current superintendent, and as a high school principal, a lot of times we have parents that had bad experiences as a student in the school. So the last thing they want to do is go to the school and be in the same setting that they had a negative experience in. So for me, having an opportunity to look online, look on your phone to see how your student is doing in the classroom, communicating via text or email, or a lot of times, not that I'm saying you want to skip over the teacher, skip over the principal. You have a lifeline with the counselor, who are generally the guardians of how your students succeed in the classroom or just in school in general, because they're the ones who are setting the plans for what class your students take at the next level. So those are integral players in terms of how your students perform in the school. So advocating, these are the people that definitely as a parent you need to connect with. So obviously the teacher, the counselor, the principals. If the principals aren't the persons connecting with you, once again, they have supervisors, and those supervisors have me or the board that can also help guide parents in the direction that they need to go to get the answers that they need. And communication, like I said, with your student. Assuming that everything is going well, that they don't really have a response or something to say back to you. That student information system, PowerSchool, that we use always has information that you need as a parent in terms of how the test scores are looking, if they're turning homework in, if they're doing classwork assignments, or even in terms of what it looks like behavior-wise for students in the classroom. So once again, student success, parent advocacy, or if you're a parent and you don't know how to advocate, for your student and these people aren't the ones to connect with, there are numerous community members that will do it. But like I said, I have no issue being a parent advocate if you don't know how to advocate for your student or you need support with it as well. So I want to make sure that the people that are listening or watching who haven't already connected with me know that as a superintendent, I have no issue with connecting with parents who need more advocacy for their students. Any questions regarding parent advocacy or other things that our parents can do to engage? So beyond the parent advocacy, the student engagement. So as, once again, a principal and a teacher, the number one thing that a student can do. We talked about what a parent can do, but as a student, I encourage you to encourage whether they're your student or somebody you know to be engaged. And the engagement starts with coming to school. Since the pandemic, across the country, schools have seen a decrease in the number of students who come on a regular or consistent basis. And a lot of it is fatigue on the parent side from the pandemic in terms of knowing or encouraging students that to be in person, to be in the classroom is the key to be successful. We did a lot of work, and we still do, with students who have online learning. We provide virtual learning for our students. But our data is very clear, and it's very clear in most school districts that look like Michigan City urban school districts, that our students learn best with someone in front of them versus just a device in front of them. So I highly encourage parents to ensure that their students continue to come regular, on time, on a daily basis. The state last year, or for this year, rolled out new guidance or expectations for school systems with regards to student attendance for K-6. So our elementary students this year, students who miss 3 days, who miss 5 days, or who will miss up to 10 days, there's certain contact points that we as a school must make to those parents, highlighting the importance of coming to school on a regular basis. So it's very, once again, critical at those early stages of educational experience for our students, especially, once again, our Black and Brown students, that our parents or community members are making a concerted effort with us, along with everyone else, to make sure our students are getting to school on a regular and consistent basis. And then activities. I don't know how many of us, you can raise your hand, did something other than just go to school, but I just know for me, as a student coming up here in Michigan City, that I didn't go home after school. I just didn't get on the bus and leave. I stayed after school, and with trusted adults who mentored and supported me, led me to where I'm at right now. So as a principal, the students that had the best experience, who did the best academically, were the ones who had the ability to come after school and do whatever it was, whether they were in theater, band, a sport, some type of club. There's something going on at each and every one of our levels, so elementary, middle, and high school, that our students can do. And understanding now that we have more and more students who are in the workforce after school, so at least in that regard, they're doing something after school that's meaningful, and they're participating in the workforce. And hopefully, if they are participating in the workforce after school, it's attached to some type of credit that we can give them as a high school student. But for us, having kids that just go home and do anything or do nothing, that doesn't translate to success academically in the classroom. So once again, there are a host of different activities that we as a school district offer, like most districts, and then also have supports from outside entities to support anyone who needs something to do after school. And we are always looking for people to sponsor, because our students come up with different things they want to do. Right now, a big driving force for some of the clubs we have at the elementary and middle school is kids playing a board game, Dungeons and Dragons. And each school has to find someone, a teacher or a trusted adult, a volunteer, who's willing to support and help those students. And so we have some schools that have that ability to reach out and say, here's a person that can sponsor this club, and then some of our schools we don't. So student engagement is essential, as we know, for our students as they make it through their schooling career and then ultimately graduate, and whether they go into the workforce or to college. And speaking to volunteers, we need volunteers. So I know when I was a member of the commission, we spoke to this, and then still saying the same thing now. Elementary, middle, especially. We have a program called All Pro Dads that's in many of our schools. It's not in all of them, but I know our principals would love to have mentoring available from men so that they can support not only our young men, but our young females as well. And that's one of the things as a principal that I really learned when I came back to Michigan City was that, yes, we were focused predominantly on supporting our young men, but our females need men too. So anything that we can do to support our schools during the day, before the school day, after the school day, there are many things that I'm sure the principals could come up with that they need support with. And it could be something as simple as every day you're going and saying hello or good morning to a student, and that makes a huge impact on many of them. So as you see in some of the pictures here, these are examples of the volunteer work that goes on to support all of our students. Same thing with substitutes. Before the pandemic, we had no issues. Most districts didn't have an issue with getting people in the community who, from time to time, we had people that were consistently being substitute teachers, and then we had some that every once in a while would come in and work. But now, since the pandemic, like many school districts, we don't have a huge supply or a huge number of people that want to sub in our schools. So here's some information here. We work with Kelly Educational Services to provide sub-services to our students. But keep it in mind that 60% of our kids are Black or brown, Hispanic or Asian. They need, when they have, for whatever reason, a teacher who's not in the building that day, someone, and ideally someone from our community who understands the community and wants to support and work with students, there are opportunities for anyone who's interested in supporting the school system that way. Beyond the fact that we do have teaching positions that we are willing to work with anyone, especially if you have a degree or you're working towards a degree, depending on the need that we have. And there's a lot of times an instructional assistant, a paraprofessional, or a classroom teacher we have worked with to get their degree, attain their degree, and then work with them to get their credentials so that they're a fully licensed and qualified teacher. So that is a pathway in which we've been able to hire more people from Michigan City, more teachers of color, going that non-traditional route. Two things that are critical for us as a district as we're trying to lift up is one, as you hear districts a lot talking about K-12, K-12. Well, for Michigan City, it's pre-K to 14. So we started our Little Wolf Center last year for 4-year-olds. This year, or for the next semester, so starting in January, we're looking at opening that up to 3-year-olds. And then all the way up to, of course, we have the Career Center for LaPorte County with various programs, especially our new center at the South Campus, where we're looking to increase the number of students who are in those programs. So as career centers become just like regular public schools are doing now, and I want this student here, I want that student there, the schools in our county are starting some of their own programs. So there used to be a cap or a limit on the number of students that we could enroll in these programs. For Michigan City High School, there is no cap. So thinking about the push that our state has for students earning career certifications, any type of workforce apprenticeships that we've been speaking to in various settings, those opportunities to get that initial training for students are being provided through our CTE Center. And interestingly, like I said, I was talking to some students this morning and one of them highlighted, well, we don't have a dental program. And I was like, you're right, we don't. And one of the career centers to the west of us in Porter County, they do. So those are things that now I can go back to our counselors at the high school, our administrators at the career center and say, what do we need to do to lift this up? Because we have students who want to go down that path. So another opportunity to hear somebody advocating for what they need. In this case, it was a student. And for us as adults, leaders in the district, leaders in the community to try to make that happen. So these are all the programs that lead to certifications for our high school students. And I like to always brag that, you know, we hear about what other districts are doing with the number of students they have that are college students or AP or AP Vet. And at any given year, we have 25% of our students in Michigan City who are either a career student or they're college student because they're taking college level courses. So that's well over 250 to 300 students right now at the high school who are either enrolled into a college classroom or they're taking some sort of class to earn their certification. So it's a great opportunity if you have not been to the South Campus to see our students in action down there as we're starting to build out those programs, or been to the AK Center, the North Campus, in a while. I encourage you all. I would gladly walk you through those programs as well as the Little Wolves, because tied into that Little Wolves program now we have our Ed Professions class where students are learning how to be teachers, and they're working with those students in the pre-K center. So a one-stop shop, so to speak, for all of our students. I highlighted or mentioned the strategic plan earlier, and as I look to my left, I know Drew is part of our strategic plan. We sent out, looking around to see if anybody else is. No. We sent out a survey and questionnaire last year to see if there was anyone in the community who was interested in being part of that strategic plan. So within the 5 pillars, there's generally 10 to 12 people that are on each one of those teams. And then within those pillars, say for instance, like the culture and environment pillar that I lead, that Drew is a part of, there are subcommittees that are part of those pillars. So within culture and environment, we have 3 different initiatives that we're looking at. One is all about programs and opportunities for students, which means clubs, sports, and activities. And that's a part of the committee that Drew's on. And then we have one that's all about facilities. The Little Wolf Center, the CTE Center, those are 2 things that are new to the district as in regards to new facilities. But what we heard over and over again in those town halls were parents wanted new. We drive to Chesterton, we drive to Crown Point, we drive here, we see new. When is Michigan City going to get new? Our high school's 50 years old, and it's antiquated in comparison to the other schools that our students compete against. So, or that we compete against not only athletically, but for students, because we have students who attend New Prairie, LaPorte, Doolin, or Chesterton. So just in thinking of those 3 high schools, which have had new buildings in the last several years, what is Michigan City doing? So an initiative as part of the pillar 1 was facilities enhancement. And the third one was recognizing our talent and our diversity. So how do we as a district that is very diverse, ethnically, religiously, economically, and then also how do we recognize that? And then also how do we recognize and engage our teachers? Because school districts are feeding off of one another for the best talent. So those are all 3 things that are within that initiative. And then as you go through each and every one of these 5, there are initiatives, there are subcommittees right now that are working on making sure that this plan is just not a pretty document or a pretty link on our website, but it's something that after we move through the next 4 to 5 years as a school district, you're going to be able to say, this is what we've done and this is what we have to show for it. So there's some things, once again, going back to pillar 1, facilities enhancements, that are coming up over here in the next year or so. So out of those students that I spoke with today, we had one that is a soccer player. And they're wanting to know, we have brand new football turf, we have a brand new basketball court. Are we going to do anything for soccer? Are we going to do anything for tennis? So I told that student, yes, we are. So we're right now in the planning phases of doing a facility study with a couple of partners. And our plan is, we got a strategic plan. We're saying we're going to do something, we need to do it. So within the next year, I told that student, we're going to be doing something. Not 2 or 3 years from now, but within the next year. So it's important for us to continue to communicate the strategic plan and anything that we can do to help share this information with you so that you can get out to other people, which falls into pillar 4, clear and consistent communication. if me being here one time is not enough, I would come basically every month or once a quarter to report to you on how we're performing as a district, how we're performing along with the strategic plan, because having ambassadors carry our information or our message out is essential to Pillar 4. Because what I see from other districts is they are very good at Pillar 4, clear and consistent communication. They have bad things happening just like we do, but the bad things outweigh all the positive things for us versus the other districts, because they can once again point to, these are the actions that the district said they were going to do, and they're doing it. And that's what my plan as the superintendent is to do for our community, to not have people from outside coming in and saying negative things about our students, about our buildings, our facilities, because that weighs on us as a district. And interestingly enough, our football team plays Valpo Friday. And last year, we were going through some information. We have a lot of old yearbooks at the administration office, and we found a yearbook from 1923. And in 1923, Elston won its first basketball sectional. So we were kind of trying to do the math in terms of, it's been a long time since Michigan City High School, the new high school, they never won a sectional. But just to go back and look and see, those students that wrote this article in their yearbook in 1923 talked about how it felt to beat Valparaiso for their first sectional. And as we fast forwarded 100 years later, we beat them in the regional. We haven't beat them otherwise, probably in 10 years, but nevertheless, we're still measuring ourselves against a community that doesn't look like us. And they don't want to look like us, which is okay. But we want to be, if we want to be Michigan City, and if we want to be great, if we want to bring in all the outside businesses and people to make this community great, it starts with the school system. It starts with our students who we want them to have that belief and passion about Michigan City. And every day I come to work and I wear my Michigan City, one pack and Wolves information or banners, shirts. That's why I'm here. And I want our students to be able to have that same love and commitment to our community as they go through. And I want to highlight also one of our community partners as I wrap up. We're having a car wash with United Way and with our first responders, the police department and the fire department here next week. So I'm encouraging anyone to come out, even if you don't want to get your car washed. The United Way is still taking donations. They were a huge supporter and partner of ours during the pandemic, as we didn't have enough hotspots for our students to connect wirelessly. They generously donated a lot of hotspots to our students and to our school system so that we can continue to serve our students. So as I go back, for me, for our district this year, it's all about leveling up. So whether it's students academically, making sure that we continue to have high graduation rates, we continue to have a high number of our students who are graduating with college and career credentials. So we have kids earning 30 to 40 college credits before they graduate. Just think about how much money a college credit costs. And then we have, once again, kids who are able to go right out into the workforce or be 2 years away from getting into an apprenticeship program and making a pretty great living. I mean, those are the things that are available to the Michigan City area school students who graduate and stay with us. And then once again, for us as the people who are leading the district, how do we continue to level up? How do we continue to engage with our community partners so that our students have the resources they need to be successful? So with that, I will turn it over to you for questions.
Questions, commissioners? Commissioner Fly?
Appreciate it. How you doing, brother? I'm glad you made it here.
Thank you.
Good to see you climbed up that ladder. I got a question when it comes to you guys' meals. Is that meals that only provided during the summer to other organizations? That, you know, the school meals that you guys provide, or is it doing all through the school
It's
year also?
all through the school year.
And what's the provisions of going through that process for organizations or people that's having youth able to get the meals? What's the guideline?
So what I would do on that in terms of the specific guidelines is, I know who you are, I have your information, I got your
Okay.
phone number. I will
All right.
connect with our food service director as well as our McKinney Vento coordinator,
That's
so
cool.
that we can all determine, what are the ways in which we can get that service provided to whoever it is you need to support.
I appreciate it, bro.
But I have it noted there.
Ms. Moore.
Yes, my husband would like to know why and when you guys stopped teaching cursive.
Did she say cursive?
Cursive,
Oh,
yes,
Wow.
Yeah.
cursive.
It was no longer, and this is before me, but in terms of the standards or the expectations that we are given by the state. So the state gives us these expectations, these are the standards. These are the things your kids need to know, and we're gonna assess your kids this way. Our kids have to take the assessments on a computer. So a lot of what our students are doing now is geared towards, where it is now, 21st century learning. And cursive writing is one of those things in which our students are no longer required or expected to do. So that one is, I'm gonna say clearly because of the expectations changing from the Department of Education in terms of what schools are expected to demonstrate student learning looks like.
I just want to piggyback off of that. Welcome, Dr. McCollum, because that was my question also. And then the job capacity that I'm in, we all know that your signature is a bond in many different ways. And whether, after you leave high school with loans, with any type of contracts or what have you, that is something that is very crucial, even unfortunately in my world, in the court system, in the criminal justice system. Kids come in, after we go over advisement of rights, after we go over our preliminary inquiry, we have them to sign, and to see someone that's 17 and a half years old that writes their name in block is very disheartening. It's shameful. And the kids state themselves, I'm trying to teach myself. So that's something I think that needs to be revisited. I know that keyboarding has replaced a lot of things. Technology has replaced a lot of things, but just the old school writing your name, your signature is very crucial. So I just wanted to piggyback because that was my question.
And if I can respond to that, as you highlight that, and as a district, we are looking at, the state has now expectations for financial literacy for students. So as a district now, it's our responsibility to teach students about financial literacy. And we know many people, probably even ourselves, who weren't taught what this means or what that means, what a credit score is, how do you get a loan, what do you need to do to get a loan, how do you set yourself up so that you can retire at a decent age, all those different things that we didn't learn and left it up to parents who might not have been experts or who weren't experts in that field. Now those are things that we are expected to provide to our students as well. So I can very easily see, how do you sign your name? Because if you're going to go for a loan, you're going to need to know how to sign your name as well, being a part of that financial literacy piece, because the financial literacy piece was something that through our surveys, the students who left us, gone on to university, college, got a career, whatever it is, we're saying they weren't prepared for as a student. So I can easily see some of those career skills, which that is a soft skill for a student, being wrapped into a class like that. And it's not something that we would wait until the senior year to do. I mean, we are teaching careers now at that middle school level. And something going back to when you were in third grade or even earlier, being taught how to write your name in cursive is an expectation that, as I hear the two of you ask, is something that we can wrap into the curriculum that we have for our students.
Pastor Johnson.
Thank you. Brother Superintendent, I've seen that you deal with the folk can make communication with teachers, student, principal, what's that? The one I'm in councils, the one I'm concerned about being a former school teacher and a substitute teacher is communication with parents. Where would you make that initial in the school system? Because even though we communicate in those 4 areas, one area that need to be communicated is with the parents. Will that be a part of your initiative as a superintendent?
Absolutely. And our schools are expected to send home weekly communication or frequent communication to parents. And it's more than just communication because a student did this or a student did that. So right now, I know for sure our elementary schools, like most districts, are leading the way with not only highlighting what the strategic plan means to them and what it looks like in their buildings, but these are the things that are happening in the school, starting first at the beginning of the year with their open houses. So everyone had an open house. And then next month, we're going to have a parent-teacher night. But beyond that, our principals sending out phone calls, emails, a lot of social media blasts that many of our students, our schools do, are some of the ways in which we are engaging with parents at the various schools. So, the part I was focusing on was, in terms of the parents advocating for their kids. But that you're right in terms of us as a school, that's why it's one of our strategic plan pillars, is we know that communication is not just one way, it's not just two ways, it's multiple ways. When the school calls me, I might not listen to the voicemail. If you text me, I'll see the text, but don't call me because I'm not going to listen to the voicemail. Or we have a lot of parents who are only going to look at what's happening on social media. So for us as a district, not just leaving it up to one or two ways in which we're communicating, and then also, once again, like me being here, sharing this information with you. Because if you don't have the answer, you know who to turn that person to get the information or the answer that they need.
Commissioner Millsap.
Yes, doctor. Congratulations. Well deserved. Two questions from a neighbor and then one for myself. School uniforms under the plan 23 to 27, is that on the radar?
No, they are not.
They are not.
No.
Average classroom size for elementary, middle, and high school, what is it approximately?
It's anywhere from 20 to 25 students. So
20 to 20.
yes, so
per
20 to
class.
25 students per class. And depending on the class, there might be anywhere from 25 to 28, but I know elementary to third grade, we cap it at 25 students as the max. And then from fourth through sixth grade, it can be up to 30 students as a maximum number of students. But generally, the way our enrollment rolls, and it has been for the last several years, usually we don't have any more than 25 students in any class outside of PE, K to 12 or P to 14.
Okay, and my question is, the funding source to the elementary school, or better yet, the school system, is the blood of the organization.
Correct.
Are we getting our share of funds from the state reference to public school versus charter schools, in your opinion?
Good question. Good question. And I just had the opportunity to attend the State Associations for Superintendents, first Superintendents of Color Conference this week, Monday. So there were several superintendents that were down there that lead urban school districts. And now there's 12 of us that are Black superintendents leading urban districts. There were only 6 the last several years. So the state has increased the number of us as superintendents, and we all had an opportunity to speak about how the funding is inequitable for districts. So the way in which it works, we all get a basic formula, which I just got the other day, based on the number of students you have, based on the type of students you have. And this is the pot of money that the state is going to give you for your general fund, which is 90% paying for salaries.
Right.
So in that regard, as a district, our general fund, based on the number of students we have, is similar to other districts that are our size. Where the inequity comes is in the operations fund, which is solely based on taxes. So the general fund, which once again is majority of our staff, 90% are paid out of that fund. The general, or the education fund, excuse me, does not come from taxes, but the operations fund is clearly coming from that. And because Indiana has a tax cap, 1%, I was just talking to gentleman over here about Illinois. We're not looking to be like Illinois because they're running here. But 1% does leave you at a situation where, at least for us as a district, we're losing, based on this 1% cap that's been there since 2010, anywhere from $4 to $5 million a year in our operating expenses. And the thing about that is that over the last 15 years, the cost of how you operate, meaning how you pay our bus drivers, how you pay our maintenance and custodial workers, how you pay and purchase for equipment, we know those prices have gone up just because of inflation.
Right.
So how districts are supporting their operations fund, so they're not taking money out of their education fund, because you can transfer up to 15% of your education fund into your operations fund.
Okay.
If you're not a district that's not being supported by a operating referendum, then you are in a situation where you have to, okay, we know that this is what we have in education fund. We have to bring it over to the operations for, once again, transportation, keeping the buildings clean. There's only so many projects that we can do, so we can't fund the field house or a brand new natatorium because we don't have money coming in tax-wise due to the caps. So we are piecemealing it with bonds over the last several years, where we fix something here, we fix something there. But the districts that you see with, as the strategic planning committee heard from some of the parents, new, they're all being supported operationally by a referendum or a capital projects building referendum, in which students or schools are building brand new schools. So funding wise, that's hurting districts. And then, as you highlighted, we do lose students to other charters, public schools, which parents have a choice. If you want to send your kid to a charter, private, public, the biggest difference is now with the voucher system, which at first was capped at a certain number of income that a parent had, up to like 65,000. So whatever the basic economically disadvantaged or number is, or people that qualify for free and reduced lunch. So a family of 4, 65,000 or something like that. Now, basically 99% of people in this state qualify for a voucher. So now it's, I believe, up to over $220,000 of family income a year. You can take the public school money and send your student to a private or parochial school. And for Michigan City, we have always had private and parochial schools. So we always had students we grew up with that went to, you name the K-8 private or parochial school, or the high school. But we know for sure, since the state has opened up the voucher income requirements to over 220,000, that number has exploded statewide of parents and students who are now going to private and parochial schools, which is, once again, public dollars.
Okay. But keep an eye on that.
We are.
Thank you.
Pastor Carroll.
Thank you, Dr. Wendell. That's a lot of information, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And I was a mentor for many years in the school system. And I must say it's very, very rewarding. I learned a lot from the kids. And I would encourage anybody to volunteer their time if they have time, and to go with the program. Our kids need lots of mentoring, and they need a lot of compassion and a lot of love. And they also need a lot of prayer. And my prayers are with you. And thank you again for coming and sharing all this information with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Dr. McCollum. I just want to know about the books, certain books.
Mike, if you're speaking to the mic.
That's all.
Yeah, can you speak in?
Oh, excuse me. About certain books being banned, is that with state of Indiana, is that doing that?
Yes. So there are banned books or books that the state has put out there that are banned. And as a district, I can't really speak to my experience with our community, our parents being upset or concerned about some of the books or literature that are being shared in the classroom. We have a very specific curriculum that we use that is approved through the Department of Education. And then within that, in terms of the libraries that are within the schools, all of those books that we have are on a list that's on our website. So at any time, which there are certain districts that have parents who do watch that list to see what type of books are in the school. That has not been, a situation that we've, faced at a wide level. I can think to 2 or 3 parents that I've spoken with over the last several years since the book ban topic came up, that were concerned about something that was being read or shared within the classroom. And those parents had the opportunity to opt their students out of whatever it was that was going over in class those days. But generally for us as a district, just because of the diversity within our community, that has not necessarily been something that we've experienced. Any concerns with that?
Mr. McCormick.
Hi, Doctor. Thank you for coming today. You mentioned a number of things that I just thought were excellent. The financial literacy piece
Yes.
being taught, I think is excellent and a big miss that's happened nationally for many years. You mentioned the parent survey or parent advocacy portion. Is there a survey that goes out to the parents to ask if they need that advocacy?
There has not been a survey that asks that particular question.
Okay.
So
Just curious on your thoughts. Is that a way to draw more folks in?
absolutely. And I know once again, in working with our partners, with our strategic plan, so there will be surveys that will be coming out within the next 30 to 60 days. And because we work with them, I mean, there's generally a canned list of questions that they have on their surveys to help inform us and push the strategic plan along. But that advocacy piece in general is something that, I think is critical for us to add to that list, because there's truly, there's a certain level of, if you know, and if you don't, you don't, when it comes to anything in life. And public education is no different. So if you are not a parent who is informed and aware of these are the things you need to do in order to get your student from here to there, like, once again, for me, I'm putting it out there. Your kid doesn't have a strong relationship with their counselor, especially at the high school level, they need to hurry up and do that, because the counselors at the high school level are the guardians of what happens with your students' programming. Those are things that, once again, as a question we can put out there, but when we as administrators speak to parents, those are things that we can speak to power in terms of, these are the people you have to know and get to know.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I think there may be, I think the survey is a great way to do it, because you can follow up multiple times potentially. And some parents may not, on the first ask, accept that help, and may need 2 or 3 tries to actually accept the advocacy. And then you had a mention that you have a lot of students that are either that are working currently, or maybe have summer jobs or jobs after school. Employment's a subcommittee that I sit on for this commission. Can you just speak to the role of employment at the high school level for kids with summer jobs or after school jobs, how that helps prepare them, or just your experience to benefit or drawback for some of that experience?
I don't see any drawback for our students that have the ability and the opportunity to work. I worked summer jobs. And the only drawback we have as a school system, as we try to build out an apprenticeship program, is finding partners who are able to fit within the parameters of their companies or corporations' guidelines to fit in students who are not 18. That's a huge barrier that our students face who want to go out and do apprenticeships, is you're not an adult. So there's not really a lot of work that we can provide to you that's meaningful as you prepare for the next level. So we do have students who, once again, because they need to or they want to, or it's just a good thing to do, they do go out and work. And for us as a school district now, finding ways in which we can not only incentivize those students with credit, but incentivize them with an opportunity to match with a career or employer that potentially will hire them or give them the right skills so that they can be hired by someone else.
And one final question. Is you mentioned maybe coming back
yes,
in the future. Would it be possible to arrange, and I don't know if it is possible, maybe a field trip with some of the students to also attend a commission hearing in the future, so that we could talk to some of the students too about their goals and how we can help the community better?
Absolutely. One of the strategic plan pillars we have is student voice. So to me, it's powerful, just like I did today, to go in and hear what the students have to say about their experiences and engagement in the school. And to me, it's vital that as a community, you hear those diverse voices of students as well.
I would love for that opportunity for us to go meet the kids instead of the kids coming here. But I'm going to pass over to Commissioner Fly, and then I got a couple questions we're going to have to wrap up.
Yeah, this last question, I know we got an agenda to also proceed to after this, hopefully. This question is pretty much pretty meticulous and kind of serious when it comes to the school systems. I noticed by being a youth provider that it's predominantly a lot of black kids and young youth that's in the alternative school and being eliminated from the regular high school or school that they're attending. And I had noticed that rate until I actually got involved with youth. And most of my youth are alternative school youth. And I asked them, when do they come back? And the majority of them had got suspended at the beginning of the year, and it lasts predominantly the whole year or the whole semester. And so I was trying to think, just because of maybe their culture or the way they're upbringing or even the way they are in their homes are being demonstrated as so volatile when they get to the schools because they're not around ones that's, you know, some look like or used to us or speak as us, and some things that we not think as being so severe, it's being taken as so severely where they have to be eliminated from around all the other youth that's in regular schools. The question I have is, I guess it really isn't a question. I guess it's more of a address of, do you think, or is there any way we can tamper down on eliminating our colored kids from the regular school system for minute infractions? That's all. Yeah, it had to be touched, Wendell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I see it, you know, and it goes back to my experience as the high school principal when we used to have an in-school suspension room where kids were sent every hour because of, you know, they didn't bring their pencil to class, or they didn't do this, or they didn't do that. And I saw our kids going in there. And when I would watch who was going in there, you know, and I remember walking in there one day and I just flat out said, this is not the NBA in terms of there's nothing but Black and African-American students in this classroom. And all the kids were like, oh, you said that? And I'm like, yes, I did, because we're in here.
Right.
So I'm going to close this room. You need to go to class.
Yeah.
So the expectation level, I'm really a person that believes, in my experience in that building, that, you know, we set the tone. The adults set the tone. And it really, I mean, and I know, you know, speaking from my experiences as a Black man, a Black administrator, that there's certain things that I'm going to say and see and experience in a different way than someone who is not like me. Not that they don't have the heart and the want and desire to do the job and put the kids on the right path, because in high school, I had people that were not Black who helped me get to where I'm at now.
Right.
So we have really gone over the last several years, since before the pandemic, to support everybody with understanding and knowing what unconscious bias means. And then beyond that, having high expectations and a lens and awareness of, look at what we're doing. You know, are we doling out or providing fair consequences, negative or positive, for our students? And what are ways in which we can engage this subset of students so that they can be in the classroom and not miss out on a regular educational or traditional experience? Because when you do put yourself in those alternative programs, as much as we want to make sure that those students don't lose out on the opportunities, they are going to lose out on some of those opportunities, because they're going to be in a more restricted environment in terms of how the curriculum and instruction is delivered to them. So that is a challenge that we and every other school that I was with the other day speak to. We don't have the number of resources, because most of the schools superintendents that I was with, I mean, you know, Indianapolis area, so bigger foundations, a lot more support for them. But we are open, and with the All Pro Dads, volunteers, starting with our youth, open and supportive of anything as a community we can do to support those students. Because, like I said, there's certain ways and rules in which every organization runs. Public schools is no different. So we need to give them those tools, our students and the parents, so that they can be more supportive. And then for those students that are being removed from the educational environment for whatever reason, I speak to a lot of those parents all the time. They come in to me after they their kid has been expelled or suspended, and I'm looking at the evidence and the information, and sometimes I can say, yes, this student needs to be back into a traditional setting, or they're gonna go to this setting for this amount of time, and then in 2 months, 3 months at the semester, we're gonna bring them back. So that, having that lens is something that it's a hard thing to grasp, even for people that are Black.
Right.
That, once again, we're working with students at the end of the day, not someone that we are thinking as an adult and can't be rehabilitated or trained to do things the right way.
Ms. Tillman.
Real quick, congratulations.
Thank you.
Quick question about the Connect Day School. Is that a part of the Michigan City area schools?
No, it's not.
Okay, so you wouldn't have any type of like information as far as like the success over there or how that's working?
No, they are connected only because they use Neiman School.
Okay,
But beyond that, they are their own entity, and are not responsible to us in terms of these are the success rates, failure rates, or anything along those lines.
I got you. So aside from that, what does accountability look like for the parents that like have, like even if you send out stuff via email or online or something like that, what does accountability look like for the parents? Like, do they have to follow up? Do they have to respond? Do they, you know what I mean?
So we don't have a compliance list for parents. I mean, we can see, who's engaging if you receive the email. Or if the email bounces back, we know who that is. But overall, in terms of as a parent, even if you can't come to the school, like I mentioned before, we have a lot of parents that don't want anything to do with coming into the building, but they'll call, they'll receive some type of two-way communication with the parents. So we don't have a built-out internal system. And we're expecting or hoping that, well, at this point, it's a hope that the parents are engaging with their students or the school.
Mr. Hurt.
Yes, and I apologize for the name calling. What I need to say or stress to us as a commission is it is vital that we get into the schools. And I say that because one of the first things that I tell students of color while I'm there is the last thing you want to do is get your name on the list at an elementary school because it's going to follow you. Yeah. And I can talk to them differently from than somebody that is white can talk to them. And they're going to accept it from me. I know the cultural differences. And because I know what the differences are, I can deal with them much better. There's a total difference of when I'm in the building and when I'm not in the building. All they need to do is look and see me a lot of times, and it's going to make a difference. So if we, and I tried this even with the pastors, adopt a school. I'm in that school 3 to 5 times a week. I have the run of the school because they trust me to make good decisions. If we could do something of that nature, we're going to see it's going to make a world of a difference. But we've got to put a little extra time in.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Mr. Hurt, but historically, our school system has not been parent friendly. I'm sure that I've seen the change. I was there when John Boyd hired me as a coach, and you left, you came, we left, we end up back together again. But I'm just saying, I've seen the change, but a lot of people have been hurt, and they're not trusting in the school system right now. But let that be as it may. I have 2 questions. I have a lot more questions, but I'm just going to we got to wrap this up. Can you tell us, the people, more about the cell phone law?
So, several studies have come out over the last few years since the pandemic about the danger, the harm that cell phones provide to students, especially as it comes with regards to social media. So we are one of the school districts within this state that joined a huge lawsuit against how social media harms schools and all the amount of resources that we as a school district have had to spend because of something that was said on, you name the social media site. So the biggest driver of that social media issue for us is our students and their use of devices. So for us as a school district, we still allow students to use them in common spaces. So at lunchtime or outside of the classroom, they can use them, but once the classroom instruction begins, those are to be silenced, turned off. Prior to the law, it was dependent on the teacher in terms of whether or not a student could use a phone or not. And if any of us in here who have kids or have seen a teenager, that phone is the most important thing to them. And regardless of what you say or do, that phone is going to be in their face before you. So having our students, and as of right now, like I said, I was just in a classroom. I didn't see any kid with the phone. I'm just now thinking about that. So it's had an impact from what I can see as of right now. We'll see if it matters academically, student achievement wise. At the elementary and middle schools, the phones were not really an issue, but it was mainly at the high school level for us, where no matter where you went and no matter what happened, the students had the phone. So that's something that's across the state for every school district.
So what is the plans for Elston? We as taxpayers, putting a lot of money in Elston, and it seems like it's not being utilized no more like it should be, and that's fine. But what is the actual plans for Elston High School?
And I'm not going to jump out too far other than to say right now we're in a conversation with people within this building and within the community in terms of making that space an opportunity hub. So if you've heard of that word, opportunity hub, in other communities, Elkhart is one that comes to mind for me right now. Indianapolis has a few of them, making that space something that's usable for the entire community. So providing, you name the social service, including education and vocational training, all types of daycare opportunities for our citizens in the community. Those are things that are being discussed with that property.
Well, thank you for that, but it's just, I just feel that as a taxpayer, we need to, if we close the schools, close them and do what you got to do with them, be it a charter school or non-charter school. I'm thank God for choices, and we have those choices. My last question is, it was really hot this summer. What's going on with the hiring practice at Michigan City schools when it comes to hiring from within the city? People, we have great students who came through here, become adults, and they never given the opportunity to have a chance to become a superintendent or become a basketball coach or become a football coach. They live here, they played here, they achieved here, but they're never given that opportunity. And as I look at you now, when we were standing there and I was hired in through John Boyd, I looked at you and I know the reason why you left. Why are we not giving the people the opportunity that wants those opportunities? Why has that not been a common practice for Michigan City area schools?
I will say, and obviously, I can't speak to, just like anybody else, nobody's going to speak to you about personnel.
No.
But I will speak to you in terms of the teachers that we have that are working within our district. And when I look at them, as I go out into the buildings, those are Michigan City people. A great number of those people. It's hard to get teachers from other communities to leave their communities. So for us, we have made a concerted effort to find the people that went through school here, that know our community, know our students, and want to come back to Michigan City to teach in Michigan City. So that has been, for the last several years, a push for us. And then beyond that, as you highlighted, in terms of, people from the community, the school board made the decision to hire me. And I can't speak of too many other people that know this community and know what the students, know what the parents want and desire to have happen for their students, going back to the information that we found from over 100 years ago. So I know that's something that I'm pushing for. And beyond that, we need to find and make sure we hire the best people for our students. And that's based on the experience that they have in the places that they come from. And if those people are saying, these are the best people that are in those positions, we're going to go out and try to find them. So that is, beyond anything, the most important thing that comes to our hiring practices.
Yeah, my question was simply about sports superintendents and they're not teachers, but thank you. I understand and I just hope that now that you're the head of it, that we see a change in a positive light because we have a lot of young people who should be given the opportunity to be head coaches and something different because the dueling conference is another thing because it just seemed like the way they portrayed us is bad. But with that being said, I want to thank you, congratulate you. And I just know you're going to do good things and you're going to have those who say you don't do good things, but you just keep doing what you got to do. As long as you know what you're doing was right. And I don't think it'll be a problem. So thank you for your time and coming to speak to us. And I hope we get you back in the end.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we scrap the rest of the agenda.
We cannot do that, sir. I will hear the treasurer report. We'll follow that later. Treasurer report.
I did send out the treasurer's report for the month of August. We have an ending balance of $2,100.
I will entertain a motion to accept the treasurer report. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I did. Yeah,
Second.
he second.
Ms. Moore, can we go to, have everybody read the minutes?
Yes.
Is there any discussion? I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept the minute.
Second.
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I know we have two people in the audience and we have to wrap this up, but I'd like to give them the opportunity if they want to step up, as long as it's brief, to give them an opportunity to speak.
Has a couple of those now, but it's
Yeah, this is Tommy Kolovic, 1316 Ohio Street. First, I would do want to recognize today is 9/11. I know Commissioner Willie Mills has a special day for him. He's a retired firefighter. The number of firefighters that lost their lives on that day. Dr. Bueno, he's a tough act to follow. One thing I'd like to see, I think we all recall back in 2009, when Dr. Carla Icona was the superintendent, there were a number of programs that had to be cut at the schools. And one of those was driver's education. Yeah. We really need to bring driver's education back into the schools. You know, what you learn in driver's education carries over for the rest of your life. And, you know, a lot of our young new drivers now, they kind of build up a record and get themselves in trouble. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm experiencing one of my tribe members right now. Just make a public service announcement. The county will be conducting another tax sale on October the 16th. They usually have like a couple hundred parcels right here up available right here in Michigan City. Most of them are right in your neighborhoods. You know, here's an opportunity. You might buy an open lot for yourself, or maybe build an infill house, or have a place for your children to go play, or have your family come over and have your picnics and barbecues. It's a very Michigan City thing to do. Maybe have a house for get out of your rental, and maybe get that young adult finally out of your house.
Thank you, Tommy. Next, can you state your name and your address, please?
Scott Melland, 200 Kenwood Place. I'd like to thank the commission for having Dr. McCollum here. It was a very informative presentation. I'm sure he had to go somewhere. But I talked to him before the start of the program, and I said I was going to have a couple of tough questions for him. How it concerns this commission is, what is the graduation rate of our African American males? Because it seems that is almost a primary consideration. People who don't graduate high school have permanently shunted themselves into a lower, more difficult path in life. So I would ask what his hopes would be, or his plans to raise the graduation rate in general and for African American males. He has a great energy. I wish him the best. I only hope that his energy leads to increasing metrics of success for our students, particularly students of color. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just want to say the school board meets, I think, the fourth Tuesday of every month. And I'm sure they will answer. Well, I'm not sure that they will answer the question, but I'm sure if you call Wendell, he will give you that answer. That was a lot of our questions, but we ran out of time. A last thing before we adjourn, Mr. McCormick, can you please give us an update on what we need to do if we want to get something put on the page?
Thank you. For any social media announcements, if you want to send those to me, maybe 2 weeks ahead of the next meeting, we can get those published out. I know we have a speaking engagement next month. what I want to do is put that out to the mayor's office so we can get it posted to social media. We were able to do that for Dr. McCollum. And we were able to do the first one this month, and I think we're getting into a rhythm. So anything you want to announce out there, just let me know and we'll make sure it gets posted.
And how would you like for people to notify you from the board?
Email is fine.
Okay,
Send me an email and then we'll work on it together.
thank you for taking on that task.
Sure.
Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.